And with that, we want to go over to our own Chris Vanocur, standing by with a couple of Utah politicians to get their take on what you just heard from now candidate Jon Huntsman.
Chris, first of all, what did you think about the speech and the way he presented it and also the words that came from him?
Well, let me introduce our guest this morning, so I'm not rude. We've got Thomas Wright, the current chair of the Republican Party. We've got Jim Dabakis next to him, who is expected in a few weeks to be elected the chair of the Democratic Party. Maybe we should talk about visuals first. We all thought it was kind of interesting. You saw it at the end, but for a lot of the speech, you couldn't see the Statue of Liberty. And that struck both of you a little bit.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, but there were probably a lot of cameras, and maybe some of them got different angles. But yeah, he was clearly there to have the Statue of Liberty in the backdrop, and he did it from time to time.
It was a bit awkward. He made reference to this great statue, and there was a tugboat going across. But at the candidate camp, media does what it wants to do, but it was a great setting. It just didn't work out, maybe the best.
Let's focus on some of the substance. One of the lines which jumped out at me, and I think this line shows why the White House is concerned about this guy and running against him, and why this line may cause him some problem with Republicans. Quote, "I respect the President of the United States." That caught your attention, too, when he said that.
Yeah, I think that it's good to respect your opponent, and it's good to be civil, and this country needs civility. And I think what he said was, you're choosing the next president, you're not choosing who the better American is. And I think that illustrates that we can have differences of opinion from time to time, and it isn't a purity test to see who cares more about the Constitution or who cares more about the country. Everybody cares. They're just approaching some of the problems in different ways.
But is that a line which is going to catch the attention and get the votes of some in the Tea Party?
Well, I'm sure some people will pick up on various sound bites in the speech. Everybody's going to focus on the things that are most important to them. But at the end of the day, this is about what he said, choosing a new leader for our country. And I think the Republican Party will be focused on changing the leader of this country because the policies of our current president aren't working.
Who do you think the president would rather run against, Mitt Romney or Jon Huntsman?
I think the president's ready and prepared for both candidates. And I was struck, actually, that was the Jon Huntsman that was so popular as president, or as governor of Utah, and that had a 75 or 80% across the board. He was popular with independents and with Democrats, as well as Republicans. We in Utah love the moderate politicians. We like moderation in all things. And the key question will be, is Jon Huntsman going to be swept away by a party that found Bob Bennett to be too liberal and that has Orrin Hatch groveling to try to get support? Because the Republicans, and my good friend Thomas may disagree, have gone so far to the extreme that a guy like Jon Huntsman, who's moderate, just plain doesn't fit into the character of the new Republican Party.
I can see a scenario, and tell me what you think, where, as we go along, this could end up in the Republican Party between Mitt Romney and Jon Huntsman, 1 and 2. Do you agree?
I don't disagree with that, and I think the best part about that for me is Utah's been under Republican governance for about 30 years. And like Mr. Huntsman said, Ambassador Huntsman said, we have our triple bond rating, we've balanced our budget, we lived within our means, we are the best managed state, and that's because the Republican principles over an extended period of time, when you stick to them, work. And that's why we've produced 2 leaders with strong Utah ties, because Republican governance work, getting back to those things that we know make the country work, will help. And really the focus isn't about, I know the Democrats would love to make it about sweeping candidates to the right or to the left, but really what it's about is President Obama. He's become the campaigner-in-chief. He's had 30 fundraisers already this year. He's going to spend $1 billion. That's what it's about, people's dissatisfaction with President Obama.
Chris, we're actually talking about 2 LDS candidates, and there was a very disturbing poll that was in the New York Times yesterday, and
the Gallup poll, yeah,
the Pew Charitable Trust poll also, that said 22% of Americans won't vote for somebody because they're LDS or would be hesitant. That really is a great miscarriage. And I could give you 100 reasons why you shouldn't vote for Mitt Romney and Jon Huntsman, but not one of them is because they're LDS. And I'm really disturbed in America that we have that kind of prejudice and bias. And I hope as a Democratic Party, we'll be able to help spread the message throughout the country. Don't vote for these men, but find another reason not to vote for them.
Anything else about his announcement, Jon Huntsman's announcement this morning, which caught your attention?
Well, it just seemed very Huntsman-esque. You know, he's a moderate guy. It was a moderate message. He had his family. He seemed to hit the mark.
You get the last 30 seconds.
I think what caught me most about it is this is a thoughtful person, and this is time for our country to choose the next leader, like he said. It really isn't about partisan politics. Like Jim said, we need to choose the best person to lead this country. And if you're okay with the way the country's been headed the last couple of years under President Obama, then he might be the candidate for you. If, on the other hand, you think that where we are economically doesn't work, then time for a change.
All that was missing was a motorcycle and REO Speedwagon.
You're right.
And on that enlightened note, we're going to kick it back to Angie and Don.